Hi guys, Miles here, and welcome to a brand new series that I'm hosting called Rescuing Your Old OCs. I kind of put the feelers out there to see who would be interested in donating their OCs for this project, and I actually got a lot more interest than I thought I was going to get. Quite a few people contacted me, sending in pictures of their old OCs, and I got super excited about starting this series. So while I am technically already working on another project, which is sort of in the works and waiting to be completed, I thought I'd get the first episode of this out there so you have something to watch in the meantime. That being said, let's dive right into this project. So the first OC that was actually submitted to me has been submitted by someone called Luvi Draws, and I really actually think this OC is pretty cool. Just looking at her character design, it's neat because she looks like a cross between September and January. But when I was looking over her style and some of the other elements, they seemed a little bit clashing. So I thought, okay, there's gotta be something in here that I can pull out to make this OC completely original. And when I saw the cutie mark, I knew exactly what I was gonna do. Her cutie mark is actually a crown, so I wanted to go with something super regal for her finished design. I went back to the drawing board and started putting down some line art. Now I noticed that she has fluffy ears and a little bit of fluff on her chest. You can even see a tiny bit of fluff over her hooves. And when I make regal characters, I love to add more fluff. I don't really know why, it's just something I enjoy. So as I was fleshing out her line art, I decided to add fluff on her chest, her ears, and a lot more on her hooves. And I really love the way it turned out. There's just something undeniably cool about horses with a little fur fluff. Using the colors from her cutie mark for inspiration, I began fleshing out what the eyes would look like, adding little miniature crowns in the shine above each eyelash. Then I gave her eyeshadow that matched her cutie mark, so we went with a little bit of burnt orange and a little yellowing at the edges. When it came to her eyes, I wanted to totally go overboard on the makeup, so I gave her thick eyeshadow and eyeliner. I don't know about you, but maybe it goes without saying that royalty is a little bit uppity. So going overboard on the makeup maybe sort of emphasizes that. Either way, it gives her a sassy look, and that was totally what I was going for. And once again, paying tribute to the original, that kind of seems to be the facial expression that the original character is wearing. So I went ahead and transferred that over. I decided to lighten up her fur color as well. The original had her a darker gray, so I toned her down just a little bit so that the base was white and then my shading was a light black. Then I added some extra color around her hooves just to make them pop. After that, all that was left was to put in some of my rough shading before I could move on to the more complicated pieces of this design. Since the original had a galaxy sort of hairstyle, much like September and January, I decided to go with that same design for the final product. Only I wanted to make it completely original. Since I was already using light colors like light oranges and light yellows, I decided to make a very gold, orange, yellow galaxy mane for this pony all of her own. Now, one of the things that I do when I'm making these manes is I pick a color scheme and then I use a gradient background. Once that's done, I add a few overlays to make it look a lot more like space or a galaxy or even a dying supernova, if you will, and it's pretty much done. The original OC had her mane combed over to the side, which I thought was super cool, and then had flowing, curling pieces coming down to about shoulder length. Or on a horse, I think it's called the withers, but what do I know? Anyway, I had a really great time putting details in this mane because it was so unlike certain manes that I'd drawn, and I think it's completely original and looks really great on her. That's one thing I didn't change very much. And I could say the same for the tail. The original design didn't have as many curls, but I always tend to add more, especially when I get excited about drawing a mane and a tail, so mine's slightly more detailed, but just a little bit. I wanted to keep the mane short, just like the original, but I wanted to make the tail a bit longer because it kind of adds to that regal look. I don't know if this character is a princess or a queen or something else, but given her cutie mark, that could totally be a possibility, so I wanted to make her look as lovely as possible. I ended up adding some braiding to her mane and tail because I thought that'd just make her look even more opulent. And at first I did like the design, but then I started to play with it a little bit and realized I didn't like the way that it looked once I'd actually made the horn and set it in place. So you'll see at the end of this project I do actually offer a few different versions with the braids moved into different places and then one version with only one braid. Sometimes when I'm drawing I will add something just kind of on the spur of the moment and then not think about it again till the end of the project when I look at the finished product. And that does happen, it's part of the process. So again, you'll see that once this project is finished and you can pick which version you like for yourself. After I inlaid my new hairpiece behind the mane and tail line art, I added some highlights and lowlights and then some shine and a little bit of speckling just to make it look that much more fancy. Once I was done with that, I finally put my horn into place, which I normally do during the end of the project, just so I can make sure it's positioned where I want it. And then when I'm satisfied with that, I decided to add some finishing touches. One of the things that I did end up adding was some jewelry in the form of diamond earrings, which I thought were really cool and actually complemented the character very well. And just like that, she was complete. Now I want to offer a little disclaimer. I am in no way hating on the original design. I actually think the mishmash of characters that kind of made this OC is pretty cool, but I wanted to make the finished product original. And to do that as much as possible, I pulled out some key elements that I found were a little bit disjointed in the original and then emphasized on those key elements. With a mane and a tail style that are all her own, she is now completely original. And I have to say guys, of all of the drawings that I've done recently, this happens to be one of my favorites. I stuck with the original posing and even expression to pay tribute to the original design, but I decided to change up quite a bit from there. So here she is, the finished product. Tell me what you think. Do you like the first version, the second version, or the third version? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. So now that we've come to the end of this project, I am so glad that you've joined me on this journey. If you have an old OC that you've completely given up on and would like to be featured in the next episode, make sure to leave me a comment down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. If you've enjoyed this project as much as I have, please be sure to leave a like, and if you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and consider doing that as well. The more people that are interested in my projects, the longer I can keep them going. That being said, I love you all, and stay awesome.